What is the difference between an ISO and a security analyst? Okay, awesome question. So now I've done both of these things before, so I can actually answer this question. It's always crazy when people ask me this question. And I'm going to tell you my interpretation, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more information on like where the industry, how the industry defines these two things. So first of all, an ISSO is an information system security officer. Typically, an ISO is doing compliance type work. They're looking at documentation. They're making sure the organization is doing what they're supposed to do. It's a lot of meetings. It's like a management type position. It's almost equivalent to a program manager in the types of tasks that they do, because they're coordinating with all the stakeholders, all the people who have a vested interest in a given system, and making sure the organization's security posture is maintained. That means like making sure that the risk is low to the organization. If you have a vulnerability that just came out, an ISO might go talk to the vulnerability management team and say, okay, what are we doing about this? When can you guys get this fixed? And then they would go report it to upper level management. And ISO is typically talking to all three tiers of an organization. They're talking to their C-level execs. They're talking to the managers, upper level managers, mid-level managers, and they're talking to the organization's first tier of defense, like the technical people. And in some cases, they're even talking to the owners directly. So communication is super important, and a lot of emotional intelligence is necessary for an ISO. That's where the stress comes in, is because you're talking to a lot of different personality types in the organization. And you do need some level of understanding, not so much the hands-on type stuff that you do with other parts of information technology and information security and cybersecurity. So it's less hands-on, it's more cerebral, it's more contacting people and like that. Now, the difference between that and a security analyst, a cybersecurity analyst is typically somebody in a security operations center. Now, that being said, this is a very flexible term, and I'll show you what I mean in a second here when we go back to the screen. When I was a security compliance, a cybersecurity analyst, I was in a security operations center, a SOC. And what we were looking for is security incidents. So we were part of the incident response team, in that we were trying to detect different anomalies on the network. So we would sit there, it would be like looking at code on the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, where all the code's going across the screen. It felt like that, because we're looking at all the logs across the entire organization. We're looking at firewall rules that have been violated. We're looking at people who are misauthenticated throughout the organization. You're looking at endpoint device logs of somebody who tried to turn off a security feature on there. You're looking at the DDoS attacks or denial of service attacks that are trying to come in. You're looking at everything throughout the whole organization, and you're sitting there and you're trying to determine which one of these items are legitimate. Because 99% of the 95% of the traffic is just noise. But you're looking for that one correlated bit of information that's going to be a security incident. Like an example of that would be like somebody tried to log into a server, an important server, and they did it 1,000 times in 3 seconds. Now, nobody can type that fast. So that should give you some indication that something is wrong. And you have tools in place like Splunk, intrusion protection systems, and intrusion detection systems, and Nmap, and all kinds of tools that are parsing the logs and breaking them down and giving you some idea of possible security incidents. And if you find a security incident, you'll go through reporting of handling that incident handling. That is the main difference between an ISO and a cybersecurity analyst. An ISO is more like a compliance type person, a GRC type person who's making sure the organization's overall risks is lowered. And a cybersecurity analyst is somebody who's analyzing the data that's coming through a network. So that's the biggest difference. That being said, an organization can name a title whatever they want. They can call an ISO a cybersecurity analyst and an analyst an ISO. Like I've seen all kinds. I've done both. I've been in an organization where I'm an ISO, but I'm also doing a little bit of security analyst work because I knew how to do a SIEM. So they were like, hey, do this SIEM over here, do this ArcSite. So put this ArcSite, analyze the data on this ArcSite, fix this ArcSite system. So I'm doing like 3 different things. But those are the main difference when an analyst has to use more problem solving skill because they're going to see things that maybe nobody in the organization has seen. You're going to see 0-day exploits. Like you have to come with a lot more technical knowledge because you're going to have to interpret stuff that is not normal. Whereas an ISO, it's a fixed bit of information that you need to know. You have to know laws, regulations, and those don't change as much. So it's more of an evergreen type of knowledge base that you need to have. Now, you do need to know like when new cloud technology comes in or blockchain technology or something like that. You got to read up on that stuff. You do have to have some knowledge of IT, but it's not as hands-on as, say, an analyst might be. So I hope that answers your question. That was a great question, by the way. I really appreciate those questions.